good feedback from last week's broadcast, and a suggestion was made on Friday that I should return to the topic. So here we go again. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel, and welcome to the I Love Jeet Kune broadcast number 171. This is the one about the Jeet Kune grappling issue, part Deux. As you're logging in, if you're kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button and feel free to continue doing so throughout the broadcast. If you're catching this simulcast over on the YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and please comment. I review the comments like a couple days later, but please feel free to go ahead and comment over on the YouTube. If you enjoy my work and you'd like to support the program, please visit jkdrebel.com, click on the Rebel Gear link where you can find stuff like this. Actually, I got it right here in front of me, right? Mine's a slightly different model, but this is the JKD Notables coffee mug, also available in t-shirt, long sleeve and short sleeve, sweatshirt, hoodie, all that good stuff. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video, talk it up, tell everybody about the I Love Jeet Kune broadcast, and take it from there. So right at the start of the Tao of Jeet Kune, like a couple of pages in, there's a section, actually a book whose section on grappling is being used to advocate for grappling in Jeet Kune, right? Bruce Lee has a thing called a section called Precautions on Physical Techniques. And there he says some martial arts are very popular, real crowd pleasers, because they look good, have smooth techniques. But beware, they're like a wine that has been watered. A diluted wine is not a real wine, not a good wine, and hardly the genuine article. So this is the thing. You know, there are people who are attracted to every next shiny object that comes along. In 1972, people started adding Kung Fu to the sign on their karate schools. In 1981, there was the ninja surge. Then in 1984, martial arts for kids became more popular. In 1988, there was a surge of interest in Aikido. Right, so if you're catching up, what's significant about those dates? There's the Kung Fu TV series in '72, Enter the Ninja, right, in 1981, Karate Kid in 1984, and then Above the Law with Steven Seagal in 1988. Now, so that's a 16-year span, right? See, the funny thing is that throughout that same 16-year span, Jeet Kune was quietly enjoying a well-deserved reputation as the avant-garde martial art method. It was the approach for the renegades because of its reputation for more practical and more realistic training. Some would say that that reputation was never challenged, and instead it was just readily accepted based on the forehand knowledge that its founder, Bruce Lee, had been a primary advocate for realistic martial art training. So JKD was a popular darling of the martial arts world due to the popularity of its founder, the popularity of some of its leading practitioners, people I refer to as JKD notables, the fact that its training methods certainly seemed more practical, realistic, and effective than the classical approach. And so JKD was in great demand, especially on the seminar circuit. But in 1993, along came Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and millions of people saw Royce Gracie defeat just about everybody that came along. And my suspicion is that Royce Gracie's win was confirmation of people's long-held suspicion that there was one martial art to rise above them all. So UFC 1 instantly proved the effectiveness of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and literally overnight, things changed. Things changed even among JKD people. There were some who jumped ship and gave up their pursuit of JKD in order to join the ranks of the crowd, which was now queuing up outside BJJ schools. And I'm not talking here only about JKD students. Others took a slightly different approach and they just added BJJ to everything else that they were studying, including JKD. Some took their training all the way to black belt and became as well known for their JKD talent as for their jiu-jitsu talent. I suspect that with some, it was partly a business decision, since there is something to be said for being able to offer the market that in which the market is predominantly interested. But I think also there is a deeper reasoning behind all of this. Cast your mind way back, way back. Wrestling or grappling is probably the first combative method to be developed by humankind. And maybe this is why in its various combat sport forms, it's always been spectacularly popular with audiences. But UFC 1 was a novel martial arts competition, not a sporting event. And it seemed, like I said before, it seemed to settle a long unanswered, perhaps even unanswerable question as to which martial art is the most effective. So for whatever psychological, prehistoric, scientific reason, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and grappling as an addendum took off in popularity. Remember, keep in mind that an introduction to JKD had caused many former traditional martial artists to question if they had been wasting their time all along in the traditional martial arts. Now it appears that BJJ was causing a similar sensation inside the JKD world. So the JKD clan, in spite of being among early adapters of grappling, think Larry Hartzell, for example, now had to ask itself, the JKD clan now had to ask itself some serious questions, like, do we know how to deal with this ground fighting thing? Is the current level of JKD training, grappling or otherwise, able to withstand the onslaught, right, which can ensue when you're taken down and mounted by a BJJ practitioner? So, because remember that part of the JKD structure was to discover the deficiencies in the classical approach and then adapt methods from combat arts, maybe even from combat sports, maybe even from sports in general, and adapt those training methods. And then you end up putting JKD on the cutting edge of modern day training. So now people in the JKD clan were going to have to take a look at whether there were deficiencies in the JKD approach when it came to grappling. So some kind of declared that BJJ was superior in its approach, and that JKD now, upon examination, was found to be lacking. Others declared that it'd be nigh impossible to take them down because of their footwork skills. So we had two boisterous groups. The ones declaring that BJJ was the new it martial art, supplanting JKD, and then the other declaring that JKD's elusiveness was all they needed to counter said new it art. The smart but silent and honest minority quietly got their training in making use of a process which they had already gone through, because identifying how best to defeat a thing is a process that JKD people had gone through a lot, especially when dealing with weaponry, right? Which is a reason for the popularity within certain sectors of the clan with weaponry. The best way to defend against something is to learn how to fight with it. So it really should not have become an issue. The grappling should really have not become an issue, because it had long been regarded as part of JKD's total approach to combat. So prior to UFC 1, JKD people had looked at judo, they had looked at Japanese jiu-jitsu, they had looked at aikido, they had looked at penjak silat, they had looked at shoot wrestling, they had looked at catch wrestling and other things in the grappling world. So when the Gracies or the Machados, let's say, came along and had something to offer, then it should have been just easy to pick it up and adapt it to JKD training. It really should not have become a big deal. But I suspect that the worldwide phenomenon that became the UFC, that and the fact that BJJ was the accepted leader, I think that had a profound effect on some JKD people. And so now they found themselves willing to accept aspects of the traditional art, like the wearing of a gi, which was something that had been eschewed long time before. So now the wearing of the gi, taken a decade to be considered proficient, the use of colored belts to depict ranks, that kind of thing. Because peer pressure is a serious thing, right? There was a, like I've said before, there was a time in martial arts history when people were ringing up schools. They were looking for Kung Fu. They were looking for Aikido. Then it became BJJ. Then Wing Chun, because of Donnie Yen, had a resurgence in popularity. Then once the strikers started to get the better of the grapplers in the UFC, then Muay Thai surged in popularity. Then MMA became the thing, and on and on and on. All in all, it could come down to just a few simple questions, right? When a grappler, what does a grappler intend to do? How do they defend against their own intentions, right? Can you quickly and efficiently learn to counter grappling the way grapplers counter grappling? Or is there already something in your arsenal which could lead you to discover how to counter grappling? If you look in, I was trying to find the exact page, but in here, because there's more than one page, but I couldn't find the section before I came live. But in here on Jeet Kune commentaries on the martial way, there are sections where Bruce Lee is asking the question, what is my counter to such and such? What is my counter to this other thing? What are the pros and the cons of these other arts? I said last week that we can always use Bruce Lee as role model for whatever it is that we're looking to discover or investigate or develop. It's right here. You just do that. What do grapplers do? What is the high point of jiu-jitsu? What are the low points of jiu-jitsu? What do they intend to do? How do you counter it? Do you have to counter it with grappling, or can you counter it with something else? Is it something else that you already possess in your arsenal, or is it something that you have to work on? I like what Burton Richardson, my JKD senior, says. There are a lot of top-notch grapplers out there willing to help you in your analysis and research and development of grappling skill, right? So, remember, because Bruce Lee said it, you don't have to defeat a grappler with grappling, and I suspect that would probably never have been his advice. In reading the comments for last week's broadcast, there were a lot of interesting things said. Paul Bax, the infamous Paul Bax, said that grappling was Bruce Lee's ace in the hole, right? I've heard that Hayward Nishioka said that Bruce Lee was untouchable, that he, a top-notch judo competitor, black belt, also a black belt in Shotokan karate, said he could not get a hold of Bruce Lee to do his judo stuff, right? So, okay, I have prattled on for long enough. So, what say you? Do you think it's necessary to learn BJJ all the way to black belt in order to become proficient in it? Or can you shortcut it in some way? Or if you just enjoy learning, is it cool for you to just pursue it as an additional art? Or do you think that just getting some in-depth training to add to your Jeet Kune skills is all that it takes? Please let me know what you think in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please rate, share, subscribe on the YouTube, and sign up for notifications for when we go live here on Facebook and here on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods. Friday, March 12th, Jeet Kune Dialogues with Matt Judd of Jeet Kune Staten Island. And that we're on the same time zone, so that should be 6 p.m. Today's a beige, brown, or pink shirt. There you go. So I'll see some of you on Friday with Matt Judd. The rest of you I'll see next week for another issue of the I Love Jeet Kune broadcast. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. Hope everything is clearing up literally and figuratively in your neck of the woods. Take care. Be safe. This is Dwight Woods signing out. Talk soon.